Previously on AfroK, Timeless Stories. Zara Okonta looked over her daughter's shoulder, out into the dark street where the headlights had appeared, and every drop of color drained from her face. "They're already here," she breathed. 2 sets of headlights. That was all. Zara Okonta had been standing on her mother's doorstep for 11 seconds. And in those 11 seconds, she had learned that her father's death was a lie, that her mother had engineered the worst night of her life, and that somebody was coming. Now the light was on her back, and her mother's face had gone the color of ash, and every question Zara had come here to ask was suddenly worth nothing at all. Inside, Adiz said, "Now!" Her mother's hand closed around her wrist and pulled, and Zara went, because 26 years of obedience does not unlearn itself in 3 days. The door slammed. The bolt went across, and then Zara Okonta did something Zara would never be able to unsee. She crossed to the console table in the hallway, the one with the shallow brass dish where the house keys had lived Zara's entire childhood, and she pulled the drawer open, and she took out a gun. Her mother checked it the way people check a thing they have checked 1,000 times. Not fumbling, not frightened of it. Familiar. Zara's whole world went quiet. "Mom." Her voice came out very small, a child's voice, a voice she had not used since she was 9 years old. "Why is there a gun in the hall table?" "Because there's been a gun in that hall table since you were 8, Adiz said. "Every house, every year. You just never opened the drawer." 8 years old. The year her father died. The year the house got quiet and her mother got hard, and Zara learned that taking up space was dangerous, though nobody had ever told her why. Outside, a car door closed. Then another. Unhurried. Men who were not worried about being heard. "Listen to me." Adiz's free hand caught her daughter's face, and her palm was shaking, and that was somehow more terrifying than the gun. "There is a gate at the back of the garden. It opens onto the service alley. You're going to go through it, and you are not going to stop, and you are not going to look back. Do you understand me?" "I'm not leaving you here." "Zara." I said, "I'm not leaving you." Something broke in her mother's face then. Not the composure. The thing under the composure, the thing Zara had spent her whole life assuming was simply absent. "I have spent 18 years making you into someone nobody would ever look twice at," Adiz said, and her voice came apart in the middle of it. 18 years. I made you small. I made you doubt every beautiful thing about yourself. I watched you shrink, and I let you think I was ashamed of you. Because a girl who believes she is nothing does not walk into rooms where people are looking. Her thumb moved once across Zara's cheek. "It was the only way I knew to keep them from finding you. And it did not work. So please, please, go through the gate." Zara's heart was going so hard she could feel it in her teeth. "Find me from what?" she whispered. "Mom, find me from what?" The knock on the front door was 3 slow beats. Almost polite. Nobody in the world knocks like that unless they know the door is going to open eventually. Adiz pushed her daughter toward the kitchen and the garden beyond it, and her face had gone strange and calm, the way people's faces go when they have already decided what they are willing to lose. "Your father's name was Emeka," she said, "and he died because he said no to someone. That is all you need until you are through the gate. Now run." Zara ran. Through the kitchen she had eaten breakfast in for 18 years. Past the back door with its stiff handle her mother had never fixed. Into the cold, wet garden where the security lights snapped on and made her a target for 1 blinding second before she was through the gate and into the alley and gone. Behind her, the front door of her mother's house came off its hinges. She did not hear a gunshot. She would think about that later in the safe house in the hours where thinking was all there was. She heard shouting and something heavy going over, and then a voice she did not know saying a word in a language she did not speak, and then nothing at all. No gunshot, which meant her mother was alive, which meant they had wanted her mother alive. Headlights swung into the alley mouth behind her. Zara did the only thing left. She went sideways into a service doorway, pressed her back flat against the cold metal, and dragged her phone out of her bag with hands that had stopped belonging to her. She did not call the police. She would think about that later, too. She called Daniel CEO. He answered before the first ring finished. They took her. Zara's whisper came out shredded. "They came to the house, and they took my mother, and there are headlights in the alley, and I don't know what to do. Tell me the street." "No panique." No questions. Just a man moving. Zara, the street. She told him, do not move for where you are. Do not answer that phone again for anyone, including me. 40 seconds. A door somewhere on his end. An engine. 40 seconds. And I need you to trust one more thing from me tonight. And I know exactly what I'm asking. It was 31 seconds. A second set of headlights flooded the alley from the opposite end. And for one obliterating moment, Zara understood that she was between two cars, and there was no version of the next 10 seconds that she survived by running. Then a door opened, and a voice she knew said her name, and it was not Daniel. Zara Okonta, I'm Marcus. I'm his brother. He did not come toward her, which she would think about afterward and be grateful for. He simply stood at the open door and let her decide. The car behind you belongs to people who want you. This one belongs to people who want you alive. I know that's not much of a difference for where you're standing. Get in anyway. She got in. The safe house had no photographs on the walls, no books, no smell of anyone's cooking. It was a room built for people who needed somewhere to be that was nowhere. Zara sat at the scarred table under the hard bulb with a mug of tea going cold in front of her, and she did not touch it, and she did not cry, and when the door opened 40 minutes later, she did not stand up. Daniel C.O. came in with rain on his shoulders, and behind him, gripped hard by the elbow and moving stiffly, with a split lip and her sleek chignon half torn out of its pins, came Adiz Okonta. Zara was up out of the chair before she knew she had moved. They let her go, Daniel said. 3 streets from the house. They wanted her found. They wanted her to deliver something. Deliver what? Her mother looked at her across the hard little room, and for the first time in Zara's entire life, Adiz Okonta could not hold her daughter's eyes. A date, Adiz said. They want a meeting, and they want you at it. And there it was. 3 people in a bare room under one bulb, every single one of whom had lied to her. Zara looked from her mother to Daniel and back again, and felt something in her chest go very cold and very clear, the way water goes still right before it freezes. Sit down, she said. Both of you. Neither of them moved. I said sit down. Her voice did not rise. That was what made it work. You have both spent my entire life deciding what I was allowed to know. That ends in this room tonight. You're going to sit at that table, and you're going to tell me everything. And the first one who edits it for my own good can walk out that door and take their chances with the men outside. And watching her stand there, this woman who 3 days ago apologized with her shoulder for the space she took up, I need to say one thing to you before we go further, because if you're feeling what I'm feeling right now, that lift in your chest watching her take that room, then tap subscribe. It is not a demand. It is you telling AfroK timeless stories that this is landing, that the work is worth it, that you want more stories built like this one. Every subscriber keeps this channel alive and keeps these stories coming. So if you're in this with Zara, stay with us. Subscribe, and let us find out together what her mother has been hiding for 18 years. Her mother sat. Your father was a good man, Adiz began, which is a stupid thing to be in the business he was in. Zara said nothing. She had waited 18 years. She could wait through a sentence. Emeka moved money. Not for criminals, not at first. For families. Immigrant families, people with no papers and no bank, people who needed to get earnings home across borders that did not want to let them. He was good at it, and he was honest about it, and that made him valuable to people who were neither. Adiz's laced fingers tightened. By the time he understood what he had become useful to, he had a wife and an 8-year-old daughter. They asked him to move something that was not money, Adiz said. He said no. They asked again, and they explained what happens to men who say no twice, and he said no again. Her voice did not break. It simply thinned, worn down a wire. He was not murdered in a robbery, Zara. There was no robbery. I sat in a police station, and I signed a statement I knew was a lie, because the man who wrote it for me explained very calmly that my daughter was 8. Zara's hands had gone numb around the cold mug. That's the part one need you to hear, her mother said. They did not just kill him. They kept the debt. In that world, a refusal does not close an account. It transfers. Finally, Adiz looked up. It transferred to you. It has been sitting with your name on it since you were 8 years old, waiting for you to be old enough to be worth collecting. 18 years. Every rule, every criticism, every time she was told to sit differently, dress plainer, speak softer, want less. Every birthday, where her mother's first question was whether anyone had taken photographs. That's why, Zara said slowly. The clothes, the way you talk to me, all of it. A girl who believes she is beautiful walks into rooms and lets herself be seen, her mother said. A girl who believes she is nothing stays where is dark. I chose the version of you that would live. Adi's composure finally went, all at once like a wall coming down. And I have to sit here and tell you that I knew exactly what I was doing to you every single day I did it. Zara did not go to her. She wanted to. Something enormous and 8 years old in her wanted to go around that table and put her arms around her mother and let all of it be forgiven because the reason was terrible and the love underneath, it was real. But the reason being terrible did not undo the years. Both things were true, and the truth of one did not dissolve the other. And Zara understood in that bare room that she was going to have to carry both for the rest of her life. "And the gala," she said instead. "Say that part out loud." 6 months ago, they made contact, Adiz said. Not a threat, a schedule. They told me when they intended to collect, and they told me it was courtesy, because your father had been, in their words, a professional. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist, briskly, the way she had wiped Zara's face when she was small. I had one thing left. There is exactly one man in this city that people like that do not touch. So I bought the dress money. I sent you to the boutique. I got you an invitation to a room I knew he would be in. You used me as bait. I used you as bait, her mother agreed. For a shield. Those are not the same thing, but I understand if tonight they feel identical. And the words. Zara's voice finally cracked, and she hated it. You could have done all of that without saying what you said to me in front of 300 people. He was not looking at you, Adiz said quietly. I had put you in that room, and he was not looking, and I had one night and no second chance. So, I used the only thing I knew would make a man like that turn his head. Her jaw worked. I hurt you in public, because public was the point. And the second it came out of my mouth, I understood I had just done to you, deliberately, the exact thing I'd spent 18 years pretending I was doing accidentally. Zara sat with that. Across the room, Daniel Co. had not spoken once. He was standing against the wall with his arms folded, outside the pool of light, and he had the expression of a man waiting for his turn at something he was not looking forward to. Your turn, Zara said, without looking at him. What did you know, and when did you know it? 3 days before the gala. I was told an invitation had been engineered, Daniel said. My people flagged that kind of thing. Somebody had spent money to put a specific woman in a room with me. I did not know her name. I did not know why. I assumed what I always assume, which is that someone wanted something and had chosen a pretty method of asking. So you knew I was walking in there as somebody's play. I knew a woman was. Yes. And you crossed the room anyway. I crossed the room because a woman got humiliated in public and did not fold, Daniel said. I want to give you a better answer than that. There isn't one. Everything I knew said stay where you are. This is a setup. Somebody built this moment for you to walk into. And I watched you lift your chin with your eyes full, and I stopped caring who built it. That's very romantic, Zara said. It's also not the same as telling me. No, it isn't. You had 3 days. You had the car. You had the whole night in your penthouse where you kept handing me the word choice like a gift. Her voice was rising now, and she let it. You knew somebody had aimed me at you, and you let me believe I had walked into that room on my own 2 feet. And if you are still with me in this room, still holding your breath while these 3 tear each other open, do one small thing for me right now. Drop a comment and tell me you are still watching. A word, an emoji, whatever matches the mood this story has you in at this exact second. And tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are, because I genuinely love knowing who is out there in the dark tonight, sitting at that table with Zara. Go on, comment. Let me see you. Now, back to the safe house, because Zara is about to do something neither of them saw coming. She turned her back on both of them and stood at the shuttered window for a long moment, and the room let her have it. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Whatever had been shaking in it was gone. Here's where we are, Zara said. My mother has been managing me for 18 years. You have been managing me for 3 days. Kim Tae-young thinks I'm a pressure point, and whoever is above Kim Tae-young thinks I'm an unpaid invoice. She turned around. Every single person in this story has decided what I am for. So we're going to do this differently. Zara, Daniel said carefully, these are not people you negotiate with. No, she agreed. They're people who negotiate with you. And they have never once had to sit across from the actual account holder. They want a meeting, she said. Fine. They get a meeting. But it happens on ground I choose, at a time I choose, and I walk in with something they want more than they want me. And what exactly, Adiz said, does a foundation clerk have that these people want? Zara smiled, and it was not a nice smile, and Daniel Seo sat back in his chair with the expression of a man watching something remarkable happen. 406 donors, Zara said. 11 of them corporate. 3 of those 11 are shipping. One of those 3 has been laundering through my women for 2 years and doesn't know I noticed. Here is the thing nobody in that room, except Zara, had understood yet. For 2 years, she had been running a small foundation on a clerk's salary, and a woman who runs anything on a clerk's salary learns to read a ledger the way other people read a face. She had noticed the pattern 11 months ago. Sums that arrived too neatly. A corporate donor whose generosity spiked in months when its shipping manifests thinned. She had not known what it meant. She had simply written it down because she wrote everything down because nobody had ever given her anything she did not have to account for twice. You've been sitting on proof of a laundering route for 11 months, Daniel said slowly. I've been sitting on a bookkeeping irregularity for 11 months, Zara corrected. I didn't know what it was. I know now, because tonight my mother told me what my father did for a living, and it turns out I've spent 2 years accidentally reading the same kind of ledger he was killed over. Adiz made a small sound and pressed her hand flat against her mouth. So that's what I walk in with, Zara said. Not a plea, not a shield, a liability. They brought Lola in at 2 in the morning because the ledger was in the foundation office and the foundation office was being watched, and there was exactly one person alive who had a key and a reason to be there that nobody would question. Lola listened to the whole thing without interrupting once, which for Lola Bassi was a physical achievement, and at the end of it, she said only, "Where's the ledger and what time do you need it?" Lola, if you do this, you are in it. Zara, Lola's eyes had gone bright and furious. 2 years I've watched you give everything you have to women you've never met. Your mother spent your whole life telling you that you were too much, and you turned around and built a whole thing out of telling other women they weren't. She was already reaching for her keys. You do not get to protect me out of this one. What time? The brothers argued about it for 20 minutes in the back room, in Korean, and Zara did not need a word of the language to follow it. He thinks it's a bad plan, she said when Daniel came out. He thinks it's an excellent plan and a terrible risk, which for Marcus is the same sentence. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck, an unguarded gesture she had never seen from him. He also thinks I'm compromised. He's right. Compromised how? Compromised in that there's a version of tomorrow where the smart move is to trade you, Daniel said. Hand over the woman, close the account, keep the peace. Marcus knows I won't take it. He's worried about what I will take instead. Zara looked at him for a long moment in the dim little room. You still haven't apologized, she said. For not telling me. No, why not? Because an apology is a thing you offer so the other person will make you feel better about it, Daniel said. You don't owe me that. You asked me what I knew and when I knew it, and I told you the truth without decorating it. That's what I have. If it isn't enough, then it isn't, and I'll still be standing between you and that room tomorrow either way. It isn't enough, Zara said. Daniel nodded once, absorbing it, and turned toward the door. Sit down, she said. I said it isn't enough. I didn't say leave. He sat, not close, on the chipped side table's edge, an arm's length away, and neither of them moved to close it, and the space between them held the same charge it had held in the penthouse, except now there was a body count in it. Tomorrow, Zara said, when it's done, we're going to have a conversation about what you and I actually are. And I need you to understand that I don't know the answer yet. That's fair. It's not fair. It's just true. She almost laughed, and it came out wrecked. 3 days ago, the worst thing in my life was my mother. I miss that. She chose the old Alhambra Theater because it had been closed for 9 years, because it had 4 exits, and because her father had taken her there once when she was 6 to see something she could no longer remember. She did not tell anyone that last part. She wore deep emerald, her mother's color, the one Adiz had worn to the gala, and when she came out of the back room and at her mother's face did something complicated and wordless. "You look like him," Adiz said finally. "You look exactly like your father when he had decided something." "Good," said Zara. She stood alone in the middle of that vast dead lobby at 9 o'clock the following night with her father's ledger in a plain envelope under her arm. Daniel was on the mezzanine above her, out of sight. Marcus had the east exit. Lola was 3 streets away in a parked car with a phone and a list of instructions and orders to drive if anything went wrong. Her mother had wanted to come and Zara had said no, and it was the first time in her life she had said no to that woman and been obeyed. Then the doors opened. Kim Tae-young came in first, and Zara felt a small, vicious flare of satisfaction at that, because first through the door means you are not the one being protected. "Miss Okonta." He looked her over, the emerald, the puff, the envelope. "You've changed since the garage." "You said I was bait," Zara said. "I've been reviewing that. And bait doesn't set the meeting. My employer is interested in the account," Kim Tae-young said. "Not in you. You're a line item. I want you to understand the scale of what you have inserted yourself into." "Then let's talk about scale." Zara held up the envelope. 2 years of transfers through a registered charity. Dates, amounts, the corporate entity, and the 4 months where the shipping manifests don't reconcile. I have the originals. 3 sealed copies are with 3 different people, and if I don't make 3 separate phone calls before midnight, all 3 go to places you would very much prefer they didn't. Something in Kim Tae-young's face flickered. "You're bluffing." "You've met me twice," Zara said. "Once in a garage where you thought I'd cry, and once here. Ask yourself how the first one went." "What do you want?" he said. "The account closed. Not deferred, not transferred. Closed, and stated as closed in front of the person with the authority to close it." Zara's heart was going at 140, and her voice did not show one beat of it. "Which is why I'm not negotiating with you. You're a hand. I asked for the head. That is not how this works. It's how it worked tonight, or you wouldn't be here first, checking the room." A sound came from the top of the staircase. Unhurried footsteps descending. One person, in no particular rush, taking a dead theater's stairs the way you take the stairs in a house you have owned for years. Zara turned to face them, and she had time for exactly one thought before the figure came down into the moonlight. And the thought was, "I know that walk." Because she had heard it 100 times. In a corridor, on a stairwell, coming toward her with 2 coffees and a complaint about the printer. The person who stepped down into that shaft of moonlight was someone Zara Okonta had trusted with everything. Someone who had held her hand through the worst night of her life. Someone who, 4 hours ago, had been handed a ledger and a key and told exactly where to be. "I'm sorry," they said. "You were never supposed to find the manifests." And that's where it cuts. Right there. If your stomach just dropped, if you need to know who walked down those stairs and how long they've been lying to Zara, then go to that comment section right now and demand part 3. The louder you are, the faster it comes. Tell me you need it. Comment part 3 and do not stop, because everything Zara built tonight was built on someone who was never on her side.